Welcome to a sequence that will get the muscles in your midsection on fire. In this sequence, you will need a couple of equipment, but realistically, you can't do it without any. But let's go through which equipment you're gonna need if you are to do it everything the way that I demonstrate. Most important is an elastic band of that size, and I would suggest that you don't go for the strongest resistance, but we'll get to that during the sequence. Number two is you will need an elevated surface. Now, an elevated surface for this video I will use will be the pedal of the Pilates chair, but obviously you don't need that. You can use a regular chair, or even you can use some blocks. I'll speak more about this during the sequence. Number three, if you have a Pilates circle, at the end of the sequence I will give you some exercises for you to do with the circle, but you can do everything up until that point without one, obviously. And last one, sliders. Now, you don't need to have sliders, you can just use a slippery floor and some thick socks, and that will only be one exercise. So realistically, everything can be done without this equipment, but if you have them and in the order that I gave, you will get even more out of it. For the first exercise, we're not going to use any of them though. So you can put them on the side and you can go into plank. So plank, straight arms or forearms, you decide, and you lock your midsection, heels back, and you stay. You can slowly start leaning forwards and backwards. Another 20 here. It might be a good idea, if you have access to a mirror, to look yourself on the side and make sure that your form is good. And from there, feet a little bit close to each other, like hip distance, and drop your heels from one side to the opposite. Again, you want to maintain your hips in line with your shoulders. Last three, last two, last one. And from there, if your forearms go into straight arms, lift one leg, hold, place it down, lift the opposite leg, hold. Back to the first side, second side, first side, second side. Push into downward dog, bend your knees, back into plank. Now, it might be easier if you have the feet a bit wider. Slowly lift one arm, bring it down. Lift the second arm, bring it down. One arm, down, second arm, down. Downward dog. One last round, lift one foot. Come into fingertips of the opposite hand. If you want one finger, if you want, take the arm off. Both hands down, both feet down. Lift the second leg. Opposite hand on fingers. One finger, arm to the side. Hands down, feet down. One more time on each side. Leg up. Make sure your hips don't lift. Fingers if you want. Hands down, feet down, second side. First leg, fingers, one finger side. Release, hands, feet down and come down. Lying on your side, and now we are going to need the band. So, for the band, you want to choose a resistance that is going to get your glutes firing after 10 to 15 repetitions. If you can do 20 repetitions and you don't feel your glutes, probably you need a stronger band. The movement of the leg that we will be doing needs to be approximately 1 to 4 centimeters big. So if you can take your leg miles up, it's probably too light. If you can barely move it, it's probably too strong. So you're on your side, initiating the movement with the heel, so not having the toes going towards the ceiling, having the heel going towards the ceiling, and navel in, long trunk as much as possible. Nice, and now leg forwards and back. It's not going to be a big movement, but probably. But try to keep your hips as square as possible. Pay attention to the kick back more than the bringing of the foot forward. Still the heel is up towards the ceiling. And release. Second side. Starting with the pulses. And now forwards and backwards. Remember, we want to keep the band always under tension and focusing on the extension, so the leg going back. And release. Nice. Next one, we're going to be using, for the next exercise, we're going to be using the elevated surface. Now, a couple of things here. The higher the surface, the harder the exercise. And the more stable the surface, the easier the exercise. So, finding something solid, something that is low, is going to make life easier. Now here, I'm using a surface that underneath there is a gap, so I will be able to extend my lower leg. If you're using blocks, you will not be able to, so you will keep your knee bent. That's okay, but if possible, try to have your lower leg extended. So, Again, you have options like in all side planks of being on a straight arm or bent, but I will be demonstrating with a straight arm. So you place the top foot on top of the surface, and from there you lift the lower. If you need a break, take a break. Otherwise, pulses. And hold. And release. Second side, you will be seeing me now from the back. A bit of challenge here on this side. And lift and lower your hip. And hold. And release. I think you can tell from my demonstration that there can be big difference between the two sides, but you probably notice that once I placed one finger on the wall, I was able to stabilize myself a lot more. Obviously, you can use the same technique. So having something to stabilize yourself on your weak side can be useful in terms of completing the same sequence. And over time, of course, you will minimize the support. Next exercise, we are going to be needing the slides. If you don't have slides, thick socks on a slippery surface may work even better than any equipment will. I'm going to fold the mat to give myself a little bit of space. And I'm going to set the slides close to my hips. From there, I'm going to lift my hips, come into a bridge, and as much as possible, without letting my hips drop, I will extend one leg and bring it forward, and second, and I will keep moving from side to side. Last three. And last one. Now hold here and 10 pulses from your hips. Knees stay parallel. And slowly release. For the next exercise, we will be using the Pilates circle. So if you have access to one, get hold of it and you will lie on your back. Place the circle on the inside of your ankles, and from there 20 squeezes. And from there you go up and to the side, and up and rotate. Continue. Last one. And now we're going to put the circle on the outside of the feet. And legs up, 20 pulses. Legs going away from each other. And now legs forward and to the side, and circles in one direction. And change direction. And bend the knees and extend them forward and extend them up. Bend the knees, extend them forward and up. Continue. 2 more. And next you extend them to the side every time you bring them forward. And to one side and second side. Last 2 on each side. And last one. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and if it felt a little bit challenging at certain times, maybe when you were on the Copenhagen planks, practice more and it will get easier. Also, if one specific exercise of those feels harder, nothing prevents you from isolating this exercise and practicing it independently of everything else. It will feel multiple times easier just because you will not have accumulated the fatigue from the other exercises.